You held me in your arms and wiped away my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly believe in the miracle of creation, in the good and the bad. Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back. It's Nazir bin Nazir from OutstandingMuslimParents.com here at Huda TV hosting, and pretty excited about it. Well, alhamdulillah, this is the zone that we encourage you to be outstanding, because we know that average is nothing but the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. And who said average is okay anyway? All right, if you don't already have something to write with and something to write on, I would encourage you to get it, because today we're going to talk about the parental relationships, or the mother-father relationships, which is really essential, because this is the first intimate relationship that a child is really able to see. Okay, now, I don't know your specific family dynamics. All right, you may be married, you may be divorced, maybe single, maybe widowed. Allah Ta'ala knows best. I don't know. However, the relationship that you have with your significant other, with your spouse, for example, or that child's other parents, is very important. Now, Allah Ta'ala chose you two to be the parent of these children, or a child, whatever. And what's important is to understand this. Since Allah Ta'ala chose that, we must recognize that and also respect it. Now, it may be that you have a blended family. It may be that someone is not Muslim, but you're Muslim, so no longer together anymore. Maybe you had children prior to even accepting Islam. Allah Ta'ala knows best. Well, here's the thing. Whether you're married or whether you're not married, it is very important that you respect the other individual, especially in front of the child. Especially in front of the child. Okay? Whatever happens outside is one thing, but the child has a built-in love for their other parent. No matter what their relationship is like with you, whether good, bad, or indifferent, it's very important, because they have that natural love for the other parent. Even if the parent was not around, they still want the attention and love of that parent. Okay? And it's important that we don't be the bridge, or we don't disrespect or get into something that we're trying to plant negative seeds in the child for the other parent. The fact of the matter is, if they're a bad parent, it's going to be exposed as the child gets more understanding. Okay? So, alhamdulillah, just keep that in mind, because that's very, very important. Sometimes I see people that talk crazy about the other parent in front of the child as though that's not the child's parent. Okay, where I come from, you talk crazy about someone's mother, no matter how good or bad that mother has been to the child, those are fighting words. So we don't want to create that fight. We don't want to create that hostility. A child may agree with you, but no one likes to hear of their parent being disrespected, no matter how good, again, or how bad they are. Especially, of course, if they're good, or they come to find out later that a person's harshness or bitterness was ill-founded or was incorrect. Okay, so if it's bad, they'll find it out on their own. So again, it's just very, very important, because it's a very fragile relationship. We only have one mother and only have one father. We can have other siblings, other friends, other relatives, and so on, but it's one mother and one father. And it's also important because you don't know what's going to happen with this other parent. SubhanAllah, there's ample examples throughout history on how a parent didn't like Islam or hated Islam and eventually came to Islam and accepted it. I'm an example of that. My father, when I had taken Shahada, I talked to him, briefly and stuff about Islam and so on and so forth. And he was raised a Christian like I was. He had me in the same Christian school he went to. And not that he was a religious person. He always believed there's God. He knows that there's a God, but he didn't like the weakness of the church and stuff like that he went to. Nevertheless, I become Muslim. He didn't like that. I become Muslim. He didn't understand it. And I could understand, why, because I didn't understand it before I had actually taken an honest look at Islam. So to make a long story just a tad bit longer, I had totally changed my ways up. He saw the 180-degree change. I was going in one direction, really kind of being a savage, if you will, prior to Islam, and then totally in a different direction after I become Muslim and accepted Islam. So after maybe a couple of years, he saw me and he saw my change and stuff like that. Then he began to wonder. He's like, let me get a book, or, what is that you believe in? I just Surah Al-Ikhlas. I told him that what got me was this simple surah in the English translation. That's what got me. Say He Allah is one. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Very simple, short, and sweet surah. Little did I know, not too far after that, he would actually accept Islam. Well, alhamdulillah. Now, before he accepted Islam, though, he would tell me that, after the birth of my first child, he told me that he was going to get her baptized and so on and so forth. And I said, nah, well, you're not going to be babysitting her then. It's not going to happen. That whole thing is not going to happen. Of course, I'm extra super sensitive against anything with kufr, especially when somebody challenges you. And it's my father. That was the strongest man I knew. That's someone I looked up to, wanted to be like when I was younger. But I accepted Islam. He didn't accept Islam. He didn't like it. He didn't go to extremes like my mother went to extreme. My mother was more like Musa bin Umair. If you know the hatred and the venom she carried for Islam, then that's similar to how my mother is, even to this day. May Allah Ta'ala open our eyes to the guidance of this deen soon, inshallah. Now, so my father told me he's going to get my daughter baptized and really didn't want to, hear anything about Islam. Now, this is a plight of those who accept Islam and have non-Muslim relatives. So, long story short, I gave him a book by Ahmed Didat, alhamdulillah, and he looked at it, he questioned some things, and he saw the simplicity and how the Quran talked about the oneness of Allah, when it talked about Tawheed, when it talked about, he didn't understand, like I didn't understand. When I first read the part of the translation of Quran, I was like, how is this? Where is this coming from? Because the book is literally written in what in English was called first person. It's the speech of Allah. In first person, we can't even say that because that denotes it's the person. So it's written directly from Allah Ta'ala to us. Alhamdulillah. So he was confused by that, as was I, but there was clarity in its simplicity, in its depth, and speaking directly to us. So what happened was I was going to see a sheikh who had a study, and I talked to him. He said, bring your father by. So I brought my father by, and alhamdulillah, the hospitality of the Muslims, it's beautiful. So this particular sheikh would always feed you. You come over, he's going to feed you and stuff you and just, make you feel at home, where you feel shameful not to eat, even if you're already too full. But that's not necessarily the best thing. We weren't, keeping in contact with making sure we had 1/3 food, 1/3 water, 1/3 air. We were stuffed. It's not a good thing necessarily, but the good feeling that came from it was amazing, due to the love and the brother wanting you to be comfortable. Nevertheless, I took my father, I brought him with me because he had some questions. And my father, mind you, was one of the last people I would have ever expected to accept Islam. Because as part of Jahiliyyah, he was involved with a number of different things, number of different things that harm the body, number of different drugs and intoxicants and so on, and number of different ideas and concepts. Grew up in the 70s where there was a large transition after the civil rights era for more containment, in my opinion. So drugs came in, blaxploitation era came in. So there was a lot of things that happened in the West, in the U.S., and during his generation as they were coming up, and they were raising in consciousness. However, there's an internal war going on. Nevertheless, he was really a part of that. So I was not going to really expect him to accept Islam, but alhamdulillah, he was sincere. There was a time when I was younger, and he used to talk to me a lot, and he would talk to me, and I was young, so I would listen. I really didn't necessarily talk back like that, or, couldn't really add to the conversation. I lacked the understanding. However, after seeing some Ahmed Didat books, and he came and talked with the sheikh and asked some questions, and he answered them, the sheikh asked him to take a shahada. He said, you should become Muslim. Repeat after me, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So we repeated after him in Arabic and in English, and we shed some tears, and I couldn't believe it. But alhamdulillah, this person whom I thought it would take a whole lot more to even consider becoming Muslim, because he was set in his ways, Allah Ta'ala opened his heart. So we don't know what the parent is going to do. We don't know what the other parent is going to do, if Allah Ta'ala is going to forgive them, open their heart to the deen, or what have you. So it's very important we respect that other parent. Now, the other challenge is that sometimes parents don't understand that, or non-Muslim parents don't understand that the only reason we continue to have good contact with them is due to Islam. Islam is actually a mercy to many of our parents. So because we can't cut ties, I mean, they may cut ties left and right, but we can't cut ties from the wounds that bore us. So we have a mercy on serving them and speaking with them and, you know, keeping up good family relations. Alhamdulillah, it's a blessing from Islam that they're receiving, and many of them don't even know. So with that, again, respect the other parent, and then keep in mind that there are other things you must do, especially in front of the children. That is unity. Unity. Because sometimes, if you're like me, let me see if you can relate. Your child asks you something. Can they have something? Can they go somewhere? Can they do something? They run up to you and ask you, and you don't necessarily have an issue with it, but you don't know how your spouse feels about it. So it's, hey, ask your mother. She says okay, then it's okay. All right? Have you ever done that before? Or what if your spouse has your child come to you because they asked her or asked him, then your child comes to you and asking you, and you're like, oh, go ask your mother. You're like, I already did. She told me to come ask you. Right? So you kind of caught in the quagmire. But we're going to talk about unity and why it's so important after we come back from this break, inshallah ta'ala. So definitely stay tuned and take advantage of some of these tactics and strategies, because I think you'll definitely like them, and alhamdulillah, it will benefit you. So stay tuned. We'll be back shortly, inshallah.
Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to a new edition of Ask Huda.
I have two questions.
Please go ahead. You can read it in Arabic, and you can also understand the meaning in your own language. The different tafsir and the interpretation of the meanings of the Quran are available in almost every language that exists on earth by the grace of Allah. The water of Zamzam is for whatever intention you drink it with. Salih from Egypt, his father has the way, and he asked about how can he help him. Very good question.
Can we give a zakat to any of the dawah centers?
The ibadah, or the act of worship, is a part of the unity of worship. It has to be paid to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in accordance with the guidance of his Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa
Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back. Well, alhamdulillah, we talked about unity right before the break. And it's so essential and important, not only for us as spouses of each other, as parents, but at the same time, of course, for this ummah. But this ummah starts in the home. It starts with your family. So this is what I mean. If your child comes and asks you something and asks the other parent already, and the parent said no, then we can't allow the child to come between and cause conflict. Now, of course, we don't know that the other parent said no, so we may say yes. The child has played us. We can't allow the children to play us, all right? Because they'll do it. They will test our limits. They will test our standards. Okay, Umi said no, let me go ask Abu. Okay, Dad said no, let me go ask Mom. Well, we want to make sure we're on the same page. So if something does happen, then we make sure we ask the other party. Hence, that's what sometimes why we say, you know, go ask your mother, or they say go ask your father, or something like that. But when a decision has been made, we should stick to that decision. If we disagree with the decision, let's say, for example, Mom says no. Child comes to me and asks me. I say, did you ask your mother? Yeah. Well, they now are in trouble, because they're coming to ask me something where the mother has already told them no. They're trying to cause disunity without knowing the whole concept there. They're trying to just get their way. Okay? But if the mother's already said no, it's improper for the child to come to the other parent to ask. Now, we have to be wise enough to find out if they asked the other parent already. All right, would that make sense? Okay? So it's as simple as just asking, what did the other parent say? If the other parent said no, I have to stick with that. Because now what happens when you say, you know what, she doesn't know what she's talking about, go ahead. That diminishes the other parent. Now, if you want to say, okay, well, let me talk to her, let me find out, that's great. You say, no, Umi said no, then it's no. Now, you may disagree, but then you just go speak with Umi. You go speak with Mom, you know, why did you say that? I think it should be this. And if you decide to change the situation or change the decision, then now you've done it together. That's unity. That's what we need. It shouldn't be over here. Okay, you have Umi over here, then you have Abu over here, you have the child right in the middle, trying to cause division, trying to play one against the other. They'll do it. Again, it's not some evil, ill intention necessarily from the children, but it's them trying to be persistent in getting their way. And you have to commend them for that. However, when they get of age and they know better, then it's improper. Then it's wrong. And we have to teach that that behavior is not going to be allowed, because that's a standard you're not going to cross. You're not going to come in between this relationship. All right? Now, keep in mind, it's the little bitty things that make the big difference. So just as it's a little thing to hug and to kiss your family and your children, let your spouse know you love her and stuff like that, it's a little thing when you allow a child to come between you. Because we understand the shaitan's greatest deed is to break up the husband and wife. Break up the husband and wife. Now, so if the child comes in between, the child can be done with the situation, but now the wife is upset at the husband, or the husband is upset at the wife, that their rules didn't stand. Now it seems like a personal attack, even though that was likely not the intention. But it does diminish the other person, especially when one parent knows the other one disagrees with something or agreed to do something for the child, but this parent doesn't want to. I mean, that's very important. I can't stress it enough, because then you have other situations where if there's a rule in the home and it's agreed upon rule, for example, you don't listen to music. All right. Somebody said, the husband says, yo, there's no music going to be in this house. Well, then there shouldn't be music in the house. It shouldn't be no music in the house while the husband's here. And then now with the kids and you boogieing and dancing and getting it in when the husband is gone. Because what does that tell the child? Well, as long as this person isn't here, then we can do this. And what are they going to do? As soon as mom isn't here, we're going to do what we want to do. All right, they're going to imitate that same type of behavior, because what that shows is disrespect for the other parent. Same goes the other way around. I mean, I'm using the husband as a rule, just as an example. So if mother says, yo, this is not going to go down here, or we don't want this to be associated, then it shouldn't be associated. Unless you come together, again, having unity and make a decision, and you let everybody else know about it. Because, again, that division starts small. It's just a little crack, but it opens up wide gaps. Then it plants ill seeds and bad feelings for your spouse, because now it can be looked at as disrespect, though that likely was not the intention. So guard against that. Don't let the child come in between the relationship, pitting one parent against the other. And they do it, and it could be, hey, I want some cookies. I asked Dad, can I have some cookies? He said, yeah, but Mom already told me no. Now, I'm not going to go tell Dad, hey, Dad, Mom told me no, I can't have any cookies, but can I have some cookies anyway? That's not in their best interest. So they just happen to forget to relay that information to us. So we as adults have to understand we must ask that question. They ask us a question, respond with a question. Did you ask your mother? Did you ask your father? What did they say? Because now we can be congruent. Now we can teach them at the same time maintaining unity. We maintain unity with our significant other. We're on the same page. We respect their decision. Whether we agree with it or not, we still respect their decision. And we maintain that unity, but we teach them a lesson that don't come to me like this, that's improper. Okay, you're doing something you should not be doing. And we recognize this on the outside. We recognize this with business transactions. You wouldn't expect a person to come to a business person and say, hey, you know what, can we go ahead and make this deal? And this person says no, and then they go to their business partner without their knowledge, hey, you know, let's go ahead and make this same deal, but this business partner goes ahead with it. You know, that will cause a rift in the company or the business. You know, we recognize that clearly. However, at the same time, we must recognize in our own household that there are rules that must be kept. And the rules are for the unity. And the stronger that unity is, the stronger the bond within your family. When they know where the lines are, they don't cross them. Or if they test them, you let them know, get back on the other side of that line. All right, that's improper to come to ask a question to cause this division. They'll do it and they'll test it over and over and over. So that's why I'm kind of harping really on that area. The other thing is, don't talk crazy about the other parents' rules and regulations. If someone says, listen, bedtime is at 8:30, it's at 8:30. Then you may think they should go to bed at 9 o'clock. But unless you make that decision together, then it's 8:30. If you want to extend it, you say it's extended tonight. But you know what? If you go against the other parent, that plants seeds of bad feelings. And we don't want to do that. That's just small disrespect. People run their houses in different ways. Now, on the subject of bedtimes, I'm a strong believer in that children should have bedtimes. They should be in the bed at a certain time. All right. So that biologically during a certain time of the day or the night, they start getting sleepy and tired. It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine once. It was late in the evening, 10:30, 11 o'clock, and you hear children bouncing off couches and stuff like that. I'm like, man, your children aren't in the bed? Like, what time your kids go to sleep? Well, when they feel like it, basically almost like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And he asked me what's going on with my kids, and it was the winter time. And he's like, my children are asleep. It's like 8:30, 9 o'clock. They start waning and it's over for them. They go to sleep. You know, when you create that consistency, because children really crave structure, but when you create that consistency, they know what to expect. And we know that they need rest. We know more than they know, so we don't let them parent themselves, nor do they parent us. We're the parents. There's a hierarchy in our relationships. We're the parents. Now, we can learn much from the children. Well, alhamdulillah, we see it all the time. And we're reminded of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're reminded that they are an amana for us. They are a trust, put it in our possession, if you will, or our custodianship, just for a short time. And in doing so, we have to be wise. We have to be gentle. We must be patient with a number of different things. But this structure is very important. It will test our patience, but a little bit of discipline up front is better than a lot of regret at the end. And many of us have heard that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. An ounce of prevention, doing something up front, doing the little things up front, is way better than a pound of cure. So instead of having a child that goes back and forth and, oh yeah, well, your father I don't know why he does that, or you're talking crazy about him, you know, you're backbiting him or something like that, that still exists within the household, whether something is true or not. So if you're doing that, one, you're disrespecting this child's father, or you're disrespecting this child's mother. They still have that natural love that Allah Ta'ala put in their hearts for them, which is not good. All right, well, it's not that love is not good, but what's not good is to talk negatively about that other parent. And two, this is exposing a trait or a character that is not good within us as a parent. We don't respect the other parent, or we diminishing their parent, then we're participating in riba, we're participating in slandering and backbiting. So how good is that when our children look at our dad? When we have to be practicing the role model, we have to be that celebrity, right? So in being that celebrity, if you will, we have to go ahead and use that to our advantage. We have to be the proper type of celebrity, the one that puts off the proper image, that has the proper character, the one that stresses unity, the one that respects the other parent, even if they're no longer together, even if that other person is not Muslim, because they respect their child's feelings, because they love their child and they love their child's feelings, even if they have no other feelings for the other person's parent. And again, that's usually in blended families. So, or if someone is divorced or something like that. But you know, it goes a long way, because they will remember, people will remember what they say about someone they love. If someone says something about my mother or my father when I'm younger, or even when I'm older, I'm going to remember that, because I have one mother and one father. My father, rahimahullah, he passed a number of years ago. But alhamdulillah, you see the mercy of Allah Ta'ala is that he accepted Islam. So him accepting Islam elevated him in such a high status, as opposed to where my mother currently is to this day. So, you know, again, may Allah Ta'ala open her eyes and give her guidance. And then the other thing is the wisdom of Islam. Alhamdulillah, we don't know what is going to happen, but it's the bad deeds that we don't spread. It's the bad deeds that we may know of and not put out there for everybody, for which we get blessings. And keeping in mind that we want to be outstanding. We don't want to be average. We don't want to participate in that lower level, being the top of the bottom or bottom of the top. We don't want to be amongst those that gossip and talk crazy and so on, because it's Allah Ta'ala who chose that other person to be the parent of the child along with you. And that being the case, that's Allah Ta'ala's wisdom. Alhamdulillah. So take these strategies, put them into your home right away. Make sure you strengthen that bond, you strengthen that unity, you have it crystal clear with the understanding with your significant other that you're going to make these decisions together, or you're going to respect the other's decision. And if you decide to change it, you change it together out of the presence of the child. There's no need to argue about it. Get away from the situation, get that done. And alhamdulillah, you start seeing a significant bond in the standards being set where that structure is really coming together. So alhamdulillah, we appreciate you. Make sure you get the worksheets that we have for you at outstandingmuslimparents.com/mom-dad. So outstandingmuslimparents.com excuse me, /mom-dad. Go there, get the worksheet. We look forward to engaging with you and continuing to empower as well. So Nazir bin Nasib signing off for outstandingmuslimparents.com here with Huda TV. Jazakumullahu khair. Look forward to the next episode. As-salam.
While my world was crumbling down and you tried your best to shelter me from the coming of the storm, you opened my eyes to see that all hope was not gone. You held me in your arms and wiped away my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly believe in the miracle of creation, in the good and the bad. Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad. You held me in your arms and wiped away my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly believe in the miracle of creation, in the good and the bad. Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back. It's Nazir bin Nasib from outstandingmuslimparents.com here at Huda TV hosting, and pretty excited about it. Well, alhamdulillah, you know, this is the zone that we encourage you to be outstanding, because we know that average is nothing but the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. And who said average is okay anyway? All right, if you don't already have something to write with and something to write on, I would encourage you to get it, because today we're going to talk about the parental relationships, or the mother-father relationships, which is really essential, because this is the first intimate relationship that a child is really able to see. Okay, now, I don't know your specific family dynamics. All right, you may be married, you may be divorced, maybe single, maybe widowed. Allah Ta'ala knows best. I don't know. However, the relationship that you have with your significant other, with your spouse, for example, or that child's other parents, is very important. Now, Allah Ta'ala chose you two to be the parent of these children, or a child, whatever. And what's important is to understand this. Since Allah Ta'ala chose that, we must recognize that and also respect it. Now, it may be that you have a blended family. It may be that someone is not Muslim, but you're Muslim, so you know, no longer together anymore. Maybe you had children prior to even accepting Islam. Allah Ta'ala knows best. Well, here's the thing. Whether you're married or whether you're not married, it is very important that you respect the other individual, especially in front of the child. Especially in front of the child. Okay? Whatever happens outside is one thing, but the child has a built-in love for their other parent, no matter what their relationship is like with you, whether good, bad, or indifferent. It's very important because they have that natural love for the other parent. Even if the parent was not around, they still want the attention and love of that parent. Okay? And it's important that we don't be the bridge, or we don't, because it's a very fragile relationship. We only have one mother and only have one father. We can have other siblings, other friends, other relatives, and so on, but it's one mother and one father. And it's also important because you don't know what's going to happen with this other parent. SubhanAllah, there's ample examples throughout history on how a parent didn't like Islam or hated Islam and eventually came to Islam and accepted it. I'm an example of that. My father, when I had taken Shahada, I talked to him, briefly and stuff about Islam and so on and so forth. And he was raised a Christian like I was. He had me in the same Christian school he went to. And not that he was a religious person. He always believed there's God. He knows that there's a God, but he didn't like the weakness of the church and stuff like that he went to. Nevertheless, I become Muslim. He didn't like that. I become Muslim. He didn't understand it. And I could understand disrespect or get into something that we're trying to plant negative seeds in the child for the other parent. The fact of the matter is, if they're a bad parent, it's going to be exposed as the child gets more understanding. Okay? So, alhamdulillah, just keep that in mind because that's very, very important. Sometimes I see people that talk crazy about the other parent in front of the child as though that's not the child's parent. Okay, where I come from, you talk crazy about someone's mother, no matter how good or bad that mother has been to the child, those are fighting words. So we don't want to create that fight. We don't want to create that hostility. A child may agree with you, but no one likes to hear of their parent being disrespected, no matter how good, again, or how bad they are. Especially, of course, if they're good or they come to find out later that a person's harshness or bitterness was ill-founded or was incorrect. Okay, so if it's bad, they'll find it out on their own. So again, it's just very, very important